Hey, welcome to the shop. This is the first in a series of videos we're going to make here about flipping motorcycles, so we hope you can stick around, because through this series we're going to fix up a few bikes, but we're also going to talk about the practice of flipping bikes in general. I've done this quite a few times over the years. Now, we're not talking here about frame-off restorations of classics. I've done that before, and you can see videos about it on the channel here. We're talking about bikes that are 10, 20, or more years old, can use some work, but have the potential to be good bikes, and you can fix them up yourself without a lot of money and some basic skills and basic tools. And then you can either keep the bike yourself, because this is a cheap way to get yourself onto a good daily rider, or if you like, you can sell it and make a bit of money off it. You can see the shop is pretty full right now, 6 street bikes in here. 3 of those are daily riders, but the other 3 are project bikes that my son and I bought last fall. Our plan is to fix them up over the winter and then sell them in the spring. We thought it would be cool to make a series about this project because we're not just going to be working on these bikes, we're going to be talking about the practice of flipping bikes in general, and along the way we'll be sharing tips and tricks about fixing up old bikes and buying and selling them. So hopefully you can stick around to the end of this series, and by then you'll know at least as much as we know about the hobby. So I wanted to walk through the 3 bikes that we bought, explain a bit of their history, and then talk about the work we plan to do to them, and then we'll talk more about what else is coming in this series. The first bike I want to show you here today is this 2005 Suzuki 650 Bandit S, or GSF 650S. This bike is in very good condition. It's got brand new tires, the chain and sprockets look really good, the paint looks good, the fuel tank looks to be immaculate inside and out. It wasn't running when we bought it, but we got it going pretty easily. I've got some video on that. It smoked a bit after I got it going, but it had been sitting quite a while, and smoking is not unusual for a bike that's been sitting some time, especially carbureted bikes. I've got some video of my old 550 that I started after 34 years here, and it smoked quite a bit for about an hour as well, so I'm not too worried about this one. And as I said, the paint isn't bad on this bike for its age. It's really not scratched at all, aside from one scratch right here that's quite prominent. But other than that, it's in very good condition and hasn't really faded much. Where the mirror mounts, you can see that, to my eyes at least, there's no difference between that and the surrounding area. So I'm surprised by that for a bike this age. The owner I bought it from had it outdoors for, I think, at least a year, but it looks like it's been stored indoors for the rest of its life. The bike has about 20,000 kilometers, an average of just over 1,000 a year, so it's a low mileage bike. It's been well maintained by the owner, it's been stored well by the owner, so we think it's a good starting point for a project. And we bought it in a package deal with this 2009 Honda CBR125R. I wouldn't normally be looking for a small bike like this as a flip project. There just aren't as many people out there buying them, but it came in a deal with the Bandit, and I think together they're well worth the amount we paid. This is not a bad looking bike. It's got that red, white, and blue color scheme that Honda often puts on its sport bikes. I've been a sucker for that myself, I have to admit. And you can see that it had black wheels when I got it. I'm going to paint those gold. I just think it looks better with this color scheme, and these wheels have to be painted anyway. The previous owner gouged them up pretty badly with screwdrivers or something when he was trying to change tires, so I decided I would go with gold. This bike did come with new tires, although the rear tire I don't think can be salvaged. That's another story that I'll share in a future video. It has about 20,000 kilometers. There's quite a bit of corroded aluminum, quite a bit of surface rust. The usual stuff from sitting outside for, I think, at least a year. But we feel we can bring it back with some elbow grease, and we're not too worried about the cosmetics. Otherwise, it runs fine. The exhaust pipe has a small pinhole leak about an inch out from the manifold that I can weld, and otherwise this bike has lots of upside potential, and I think it will appeal to that first-time street bike rider or somebody who's looking for a bike that is easy on gas for commuting or what have you. So we think this bike is also a good starting point for a flip project. And the last bike I have to show you here today is this 2010 Yamaha V-Star 650 Classic. This was the first of the 3 bikes that my son and I bought last fall. We bought this from its original owners, and that's unusual in my experience for a 10-plus year old bike. These people seem to be genuinely attached to the bike. They really did not want to sell it, but they knew they had to because it's been sitting outdoors for 2+ years, uncovered, and it's deteriorated a lot, and they knew they had to sell it or spend probably more than they thought they could justify to have it fixed up by a shop. So they were looking for someone who was planning to fix it up, so it turned out to be a good match. And because it's been sitting outdoors, it has the usual corrosion on the aluminum, it has lots of surface rust, and in this case the paint is faded quite badly. I'm not too worried about the faded paint. We can shine it up, and when we're finished, that patina will look quite unique, and it'll look good overall. This bike has about 40,000 kilometers. It wasn't running when we bought it, but it turned out to be quite easy to get running, so it's a good basis for a project, and most of the work it needs is cosmetic. We can deal with the corroded aluminum, and we can deal with the rusty chrome. We can paint other parts that might need it. The cosmetics don't worry us. When you're shopping for a project bike, you have to look beyond the cosmetic damage. It can be repaired with very little cost. It just takes some elbow grease, and in this series we're going to go through how we do it. Now this video clip is a few months old, and we've done quite a bit of work to all of these bikes since then. We have lots of video content and photos to show of this work, so you should check back for that. Also, as part of this series, I'm going to do a video about what I look for when I'm shopping for a project bike. Having done this quite a few times over the years, I've discovered things that a bike really should have as the basis for a project. I've also discovered things a bike shouldn't have as the basis for a project, but if you know what you're looking for, there are lots of good ones out there. Here in my part of the world, where we actually have a winter, bikes usually sell for a lower price in the fall. People just can't get them to storage or what have you, and prices are higher in the spring, so it makes sense if you're into flipping bikes that you should buy them in the fall and sell them in the spring. So that's the background on this project. You might as well click that subscribe button, and you can follow along as we make progress on these bikes, and we'll share a few tips along the way. Thanks for watching.